Earlier in the conversation, you referenced some countries. You said it was incumbent on them not only to raise the living standards of their citizens, but also to reduce or eliminate the external costs of living, such as education. And since student debt is such a hot topic today, though I think it was more of a hot topic a year or two ago, but is this one of these things that you think ought to be eliminated? And do you see a path for how that might happen going forward?
This is exactly the problem. Once you privatize public infrastructure, you vastly increase the cost of living. It was the conservatives, Benjamin Disraeli in England, that said public health is the whole thing. That's what it's all about. It was the conservatives that wanted that. In the United States, the first economics professor at the first business school, the Wharton School, was Simon Patton. And he said public infrastructure is a separate public capital, is a distinct factor of production. It's unlike labor, it's unlike land ownership, which is not production but a rentier claim. It's unlike industrial capital. It's not aimed at making an economic surplus. It's not aimed at making a profit. The role of public infrastructure is like the Erie Canal, the other American infrastructure. It's to lower the cost of doing business and living. So if we can have the government infrastructure providing basic needs, healthcare, education, communications, transportation, if we can have the post office, if we can have those water and sewer, if we can have those public functions provided freely or at subsidized rates, the government isn't in this infrastructure to make a profit. We're in to provide it as a basic economic right. He didn't call it human right, he called it economic cost, so that the employers don't have to pay their wage earners enough to pay for their own education, $50,000 a year today a semester, their own health care, 18% of GDP, their own transportation and communications that are monopolized. So that by privatizing all of these, all of a sudden they're run for profit and for capital gains and for management fees, and all of a sudden you have the advantage of socialist economies, and everybody called this public infrastructure socialism back then. Not only the Marxists, you had Christian socialists, you had Henry George libertarian socialists, you had all sorts of socialists. They all said the future of industrial capitalism is going to be private economies where you have an active public sector subsidizing industrial capitalism and its ability to compete with other countries by lowering the cost of living and doing services. The object of privatization is to make money by raising the cost of living. By raising the cost of doing business, that's how you make your money. So if you have an economy of private capital and privatization, of privatized healthcare, privatized education, of making its money by charging as much as you can, then how on earth can the Americans or Western Europeans that have gone neoliberal, how can they expect to compete with countries that are calling themselves socialist, but are really reinventing the wheel and doing exactly what the American industrial capitalists and the German industrial capitalists and the French industrial capitalists did in the 19th century?